Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's video, we have a fun topic that Phil has wanted to do for a week or two, and we're going to discuss that. So, Phil, break it down for us. What are we going to be talking about, you, me, and Ty, in this episode?
All right. So on my nice little nature walk that I'm trying to do to lower my cholesterol, by the way, I am down, I think, 50 points on my LDL in about 6 months, 5 months.
Nice.
Some of you guys are probably like, that's nothing. But anyways, it's important for me. I was tuning into the Sports Card CEO podcast. They've got about 20 episodes. Pretty good. I check them out. And those guys actually had Jared Blesnick on, who's the oldest Bles brother, I believe. If not, then probably getting the guy's name wrong. But he's the poker player guy. And he's been the big reason why Blez got off the ground. He's pretty much the owner, founder of the Blez enterprise, sort of. And he was talking about Fanatics. And some of what he's saying, and I know you guys in the comments are going to be like, he's a shill. He's just like, in Fanatics pocket or whatever, and he's just trying to do whatever he can do to get a bigger allocation and blah, 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 blah. And he's ruining the industry because of the breaking and everything. But I find him to be somewhat authentic. And he made a comment that baseball is now the number one sport in the hobby. And the reason for that is that Fanatics has the baseball license right now. They've done a lot of good stuff since they've taken them over, since they've bought Topps a few years ago. And I thought that was an interesting comment, one worthy of discussion. I brought it up to these guys, and a few of them were like, well, why was it even a question? Baseball's always been the number one based on any metric. Some of those folks aren't here to stand to defend those claims. And I think what they're saying is largely, there's a lot of truth, a lot of merit to what they're saying. What do you guys think about baseball being the number one sport in the hobby because of Fanatics? Tackle all of that. What do you guys think?
I think that statement's about to be really stale when football comes over or basketball in the fall and football next spring to Fanatics.
That's when we'll know if it's a true statement.
That's the first thing I would say. But the second thing I would say is, it's my favorite sport at this point, but it's not number one. Like working at a card shop, football is number one right now. Football for sports. Pokemon is number one right now overall, and football is number one in the sports card space, just in terms of like heat and who's buying what and how
you
many
need to be
people
more
are asking for it.
specific. Quarterbacks are number one.
Football quarterbacks are number one.
That's number one. Football
downtowns and kabooms and all the contenders and everything, it's all number one. And so, we'll see what that looks like when it comes over. But I guess you have to define what number one means. But even the gem rate data, which I'm gonna find and pull up here in a minute, just to see the grading data by sport. But yeah.
So
what do you think, Scott?
I started and owned a card shop for a little bit before I had to move. And when I was doing that, I was in Utah, which is very basketball heavy because of the Jazz. So because of that, and there's not many baseball teams. You have the Rockies and the Mariners, So for what it's worth, basketball was the biggest sport there. But it was very clear a majority of the collectors would prefer to discuss basketball and football cards than baseball cards. I am more of the opinion, though, that baseball cards has the widest collector base from like ages, maybe not young anymore.
Yeah.
That may be football and basketball at this point. But I feel like baseball is also the healthiest sport. Okay, football is very healthy compared to basketball. Baseball is doing good. It's increasing in popularity. Basketball is kind of stale. People don't like some of the rules in the game right now. Baseball is doing a good job of building its brand right now, Major League Baseball. And so I think that's what we're seeing as well. But baseball, historically, I'll even show this, and I know there's inherent issues with this, with Google Trends, because of baseball cards is synonymous with sports card shops. I know that. But regardless, we can see football is closing the gaps at cyclical times. Look how close it got there in November. What is this month? November 2023, December. It got even closer last year. But you can see it's a pretty big difference, wider now than it's really been in a while for football cards. So my point, though, is it could cross. But I don't think it's because of Topps for any of this at all. I think it's more so because it's the most popular sport in the country. But that's just me.
I found an article from 2021, I believe, sportscollectorsdaily.com. And they had a stat that eBay sales data showed that basketball card sales overtook baseball card sales in the year of 2020. So and I'm talking about number of sales, not total dollar value. So total number of sales, basketball card sales were up on eBay 373% from the previous year.
When was this, Phil?
This is in 2020.
2020. Okay.
Yeah. And then baseball card sales were up by 73%. So in the sense of number of transactions, and that makes sense based off of kind of where the hobby was, where all the hype was, where the content creators were at the time. Sports SEI was largely basketball where it started, and that's Jeff's favorite sport. Well, in addition to football, I think too. But Sports Cards Nonsense started like really focusing on that stuff. And I mean,
Pac-Man, all those guys, that's what they focused on because that's what they got views on.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you looked at and maybe Ty's looking at this now, but like most expensive card sales, basketball, I mean, over and over and over. Like and we're talking like from 1990s and up. So kind of more of a reflection on current players or current collectors of players like Michael Jordan. So it's not fair because basketball does have a Michael Jordan where baseball didn't quite have that same player. Ken Griffey Jr. would have been the closest. But other than that, Michael Jordan's probably the most collected player in the sports card hobby. And maybe, Mickey Mantle, you could argue, but, I'm saying 1990s forward. Maybe forever, who knows? So basketball had its time in the sun, and basketball also had the most severe collapse. And I agree with you, Scott. When I was selling basketball cards, you could tell the types of inquiries I was getting on cards I had listed for sale, like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander PSA 9 Silver Prism. People were trying to nickel and dime me, trying to get me down like $1, $5, $15. And I was getting all these inquiries of people that were somewhat serious, but just wanted at a really low cost. Where with baseball, time in and time again, like the people that buy it, you can link their home state to the team that they're buying the card of, the player where he plays for, whatever. And these guys are like Iowa buyers that are buying a Cubs player because it's like a 3-hour drive away or 6-hour drive away or something. It's their closest team or one of their closest teams. Like you can always link them. You can always link this person as like to being like an actual fan to a specific city. And with basketball, with football, it was never that at all.
Yeah.
And you can't say that's anecdotal just because I experienced it so many times. And then that market really popped for basketball, for football. Another metric you could look at is how expensive wax sells for, right? Like their flagship brand Prism, which is the equivalent of our Topps Chrome, especially football. Basketball's come down, and this largely depends on the rookie crop too.
Rookie class.
Yeah, but like football consistently destroys us, and I can tell Fanatics is licking the chops right now to, trying to sell Topps Chrome at Panini Prism like prices, and then eventually moving Topps Chrome baseball up to get closer and closer to those Topps Chrome football and basketball prices. So there's that, and at shows, younger people tend to be more interested in football and basketball because they're more interested in those sports, I feel like. But hey, listen, like basketball right now, NBA finals, like the ratings suck, right? But you also have an Indiana team against an Oklahoma team. Like who cares? Like the ratings are going to suck. And I know basketball is trending a little bit down. I know it is, but like to compare that to the World Series last year, if that's where you're going, maybe you weren't, but like half our viewership came from Japan. I mean, that's great, like global, but a lot of that had to do with Ohtani. A lot of it has to do with the teams that are being featured.
So I was just going to say, I wasn't challenging you. I was just going to say, I do like how, and this happened to Ty and I, this happened to us both. We both came over from basketball. We both learned to love baseball cards the longer we're in the hobby and the sport. I feel like baseball kind of converts people slowly into it as a hobby. It's definitely more rich historically. It's amazing. We have vintage, we have pre-war, we have all these things that these other sports will never have. It's kind of like the game of baseball versus football and basketball. It's changed so much. George Mikan would not do anything in the NBA. And I feel comfortable saying that. Well, Willie Mays, who played about the same time as George Mikan, would do great. Like, it's one of those things. That's why I love baseball and baseball cards. I feel like it has a better floor that's more established, but it will always have a lower ceiling than what basketball and football have. Basketball feels like it's cooled off a lot, but I'm also not as in tune with the space. Back in like 2018 to 2022, basketball was just like the hottest thing around. And now it doesn't feel quite that way. So I don't know. I also do think, Phil, you mentioned Michael Jordan. We may have a Michael Jordan with Ohtani. That might be hard to say, but like what he's doing, like he's having more eyes on baseball cards than we've seen any player since like that steroid era type era. Which I think is great. So maybe that helps baseball cards, having an Ohtani, having a true chase. Trout was that person, but Ohtani is proving to be more so.
I got some players here. So we've got Ohtani cards, Burrow cards, Aaron Judge cards, Wembanyama cards, and where they've peaked. And suffice it to say, they've all basically hit near the high point of each other. Ohtani being the high water mark, Wembanyama being closely behind him later, who's obviously come down significantly. So I want to show you something when I put somebody else in. I'm going to put in Jaden Daniels cards.
Yeah.
Wham.
Wow. Yeah. And then if you add Tom Brady, it really shows the interest in football.
So, this is effectively showing us that, you know, Jaden Daniels' high water mark is like almost 4 times higher than what Ohtani's, or 3 times higher than what Ohtani's was. In terms of the last year. So football right now, I was a little surprised at first to see this gem rate data showing that baseball had 193,000 cards graded last month by PSA, or in April, I should say, whereas football was 188. But I will say there are fewer cards overall in these sports. And what I do know is that baseball, like just all-time grading, accounts for 32% of all cards that have ever been graded because of how many cards there are total going back to vintage and pre-war. There's a significant portion of those cards, and there are still surprisingly a lot of vintage cards being graded today. But if we shift over, these are the most graded sets, and it's football, baseball. And then if you go all the way over to the most graded players, football, it's all quarterbacks. So some of that's seasonal, some of that's timing of when different products come out. But it is, I can just tell you, like, the baseball cards section is healthy at Cards HQ. It always has stuff. The inventory moves. And I think a lot of the people buying the cards, the non-graded cards, are the ones that are, like Phil said, like just fans of the team. Like that's like what they collect. Football is like, if there's any repackers coming into our store to go after buying stuff or whatnot, sellers or anybody, they go straight to football. Like that's what's, you know, that's what all the young kids want right now. And that's what everybody else is kind of after in general. And then, all right, so I do have a question for you guys. Between Prism and Topps Chrome hobby boxes, so between both products, looking at any league, which single hobby box do you think is most expensive right now? From 2024, sorry.
Any league. So does this include F1 and soccer?
Yeah.
Oh. It's not basketball.
Is it Topps Chrome F1?
No.
I don't know, Ty.
It
Well,
is.
Prism Football is, of the three we were discussing.
Prism Football is close. It's second at $1,088 for a hobby box from 2024. It's Prism WNBA.
Oh, Caitlin Clark.
$1,140 a hobby box. 2024 Topps Chrome Marvel hobby box is $575. But yeah, so you in Market Movers you can look at sealed box prices in addition to cards, and so I was able to filter this and look at these different prices. But pretty interesting. Basketball, this is the cheapest Prism hobby box of any year ever, like that you can get right now. This is the floor, because the last rookie class wasn't particularly strong, at least not as of yet. And then you start getting into Prism Copa, and then you get down. And so I know there was a lot of like sticker shock at this price for Topps Chrome baseball, but as we've discussed in the past, unfortunately, if you like to rip Topps Chrome or any baseball products, I think this is only just the beginning.
My beef with it, though, is there's just so much more upside to those other products. Like, there's a big chase. Like Caitlin Clark, if you get a numbered rookie card, that's awesome. In basketball, in baseball, if you get James Wood at 150, that doesn't matter.
Well, that's why I think this product's going to potentially double in the next 4 to 5 years or more.
I think the cards have to double inside the box to justify.
I think they could.
It has to correlate. I don't think it'll happen.
Once football comes over and people start saying that they're going to pay, the kind of money that they pay for Prism cards for Topps Chrome because it's all they have potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic.
To Scott's point, the best football card might end up being like of a 2025 player could be the 2025 Topps Chrome Superfractor, auto or non-auto. For baseball, you won't be able to get a player's top card. You won't even be able to get their Topps Chrome rookie card because that's going to come out of the Topps Chrome update most likely. So it could be a little different, but I think they're going to try to price it similarly. I mean, isn't that what the industry is all about?
I just have a crazy hard time believing there's enough people opening this stuff to justify the pricing. It just blows my mind.
No, it's not.
You could make a mortgage, like this is like a mortgage payment to open up a box and a half of Prism WNBA. Yeah. Like it's just like, who's doing this?
Yeah, well, Chris Sewell did say in his video that he thinks there's never been. He might call this. I don't know if he called
the overpriced wax.
The overpriced wax.
Yes, to be kept waxing the term.
The overpriced wax era, because he said there's probably never been a worse value proposition to open boxes, and I would agree with that. I think it got my wheels spinning. Phil, if you were going to make a hard video, I think this is one you could make where you look at, if there were a way to scientifically, algorithmically determine what the value of a box should be based on the top chase and then like the next 5% of cards and then the next tier down. And if there's a potential $100,000 card in this product or a potential $1.1 million card in this product, how much does that, incrementally drive the overall hobby box? And we can see some of that because of, how much Topps Chrome update came down in price once the scheme surfaced, right?
Yeah, you'd have to make assumptions with older stuff on like what it would grade, to do like a justice on it. I mean, for 1993 stuff, it's going to be PSA 9s and worse. You can probably assume that. But with some other stuff, you might not be able to assume it won't gem. And then you'd have to plot it across a graph and look every 5 years. So to see like how it would stack up in time, like 1993 tops in 1998 if you're opening it, in 2003 if you're opening it. That'd be pretty difficult. I want to add a few more things because people in the comments are going to call us idiots for not bringing them up.
Okay.
So there's also like about those sports, there are some things holding back football. So we're not trying to shill football in this episode. We understand that there are drawbacks to football cards. One being that quarterbacks tend to be the only investable players usually. Now I know there's going to be exceptions. Your JJ Watts, certainly a few receivers, not many, but a handful. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, maybe will be relevant 10 to 15 years from now. But certainly quarterbacks are where all the money is spent. And because of that, well, either way, 85% of any skill position is probably going to flame out. But with quarterbacks, that's definitely true as well. So a lot of money gets sunk in these players. So you get so much concentration on like 5 to 10 different players. Worse than baseball, because with baseball, it's harder to predict who's going to be the guy. So that makes it harder. With football, it's going to be one of these 10. Well, you think if one of the 10 from the class succeeds, but which one, right? And when's your optimal buying point, considering that they're overpriced from the start or very expensive from the start? CJ Stroud, really tough sophomore season for him. And I would argue also it's for football, the collectability is tougher because you don't often know what the player's face looks like because they're wearing helmets all the time, if you know what I mean. Like quarterbacks, sure. But maybe that's holding back the other players outside of the quarterbacks that aren't always on TV. They don't get that much camera action. I think that's holding those guys back as well. And then, of course, shorter careers, injuries, can make those guys bad investments too, especially the non-quarterbacks with the rule changes these days. They're keeping the quarterbacks healthier for longer.
One thing I'll say, Phil, you did mention how JJ Watt, as an example. Do you want to know what JJ Watt's most expensive card is? Unless I did this wrong with Market Movers. Sold.
He doesn't sell well, I don't think. I used to have one of
$2,200
his
ever.
Yeah.
How much?
$2,200 is the highest sale ever in the card. And then we have Ray Lewis. Want to guess Ray Lewis highest card sale ever? $7,900.
PMG.
1996 Bowman's Best Atomic.
Yeah.
No PM. His highest PMG was $4,300 in 2023.
Watt had a $5,800 sale on a green Kaboom.
How did I do this wrong on market movers?
You might have put in did you just put JJ without the dots?
Come on, Ty.
It's not market movers. eBay would do the same thing. Like
Get
it's
market movers together.
but it's true. I want to enhance that.
Yeah.
And then from was I calling them skill positions? What are they? Offensive players, running backs, Marshawn Lynch. He has like a cult following, right? Like really cool dude, played for a long time, had at least one nickname, was memorable with multiple franchises. His second best card ever, I think, was pulled by one of my customers.
Nice.
Bowman Chrome Superfractor Auto Rookie. I think the best card ever, probably Topps Chrome Superfractor Auto Rookie. This person sold it for $2,000.
Whoa.
So that was a mistake. I was on vacation. I would have given some consulting. I was in the Bahamas at the time, but sold it too quickly. And that's why I have to be careful when I like say, hey, look what one customer just pulled. And then you've got all these like people attacking that customer that might not know much about the card. It was probably worth like 10,000 at the time. Okay. So that was sold since
Since then. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, to your point, like these things are so volatile. Like it's
and that's only
it really
37.80.
is.
Yeah. So maybe it was worth less. Maybe you should have done bin, got closer to like 7,000 or 8,000.
But with that being said, pitchers in baseball are like equivalent to everybody who's not a quarterback in football. The pitchers still, I feel like, have a better following than skill players in football. Baseball, I hate to say it. This is not a hot take because it's what I do. Baseball is the best sport to collect by far. To me,
I think so.
Like it's not. We could make a video. Maybe that's the next topic. Why baseball is better than other sports, and if people have issues with it, we're a baseball card podcast, so it is what it is. But in every way, as a sport to collect, baseball is the best. Like straight, it is what it is, in my opinion. Imagery, you get the best imagery in baseball. You have the best legacy in baseball, the best historical legacy, not just sports card legacy in baseball. You have a diversity of players. Baseball doesn't need championships as much. Collectors are relatively rational. I could just keep going for baseball, which I love. So it doesn't matter what position you're playing. Maybe some have a slight benefit, but like if Cal Raleigh becomes the next guy, his cards will be worth a lot even as a catcher. No one cares. We think that's cool. I don't know. I love baseball.
Yeah. And I think Jeff's point was, and he was like the guy that was like, what do you mean? Like, why would it even be a contest? Baseball's always been number one. And I think from a collector standpoint, it's easier to make that argument. You can look to blowout forums and you can track the number of posts that the baseball group gets versus the basketball and football groups. Now, there's probably other reasons for that. Maybe it originated as baseball only. Maybe there are other communities where the basketball discords and stuff where that sort of discourse takes place with football as well. But also if you look at the content that's produced. Yes, sure. Some of the bigger channels, some of the guys that break cards do multi-sport. Some of the guys that go from show to show, your Roth cards, etc., do multiple sports. But if you look at like sheer number of channels, there's a lot more collector channels. I knew this because growing into YouTube and being part of like the community when I started, it seemed like the football, hockey guys kind of got the shaft. Their channels just weren't really watched as much. And because of that, they didn't have as much like connection to the community. It was harder for them to kind of forge those friendships. Where with baseball, you were just like immediately accepted and you just got a lot more eyeballs from the get-go.
Yeah. Okay. We talked a lot about this. So I think we all agree baseball may not be the number one sport, and that's okay. But at the same time, we think it is the number one sport. What is this, Ty? What are you showing me?
I just was like, when I was looking at Lynch, I had to bring this up. Apparently his driver's license sold for $854. I don't know.
That's cool.
The stuff you see when you click through sales history and market movers. So,
all right, let us in the comments down below what your thoughts are and why you hate Ty. Thanks for watching.
I think you say that. Yeah.
Watch everybody. We'll see you in the next video.